Jeff, and thanks everyone. Some incredibly thought-provoking presentations. So, from my perspective and my background, 28 years as a police officer, only in the last few years have I become very heavily involved in police well-being, and particularly around suicide prevention within policing. So I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here and join colleagues today. I think it's an amazing event, and well done for putting it together. So the question, I suppose, is to Dr. Krenzer. William, really excellent presentation, very, very thought-provoking. I was very interested in your discussion around dark awe, and the measurement scale that you described. So I suppose that dark awe, that fear and dread, and I'm thinking about police practice, law enforcement experience in particular. And do you think that the measurement scale that you've devised through the research can be adapted or applied to measure awe within occupational specific contexts? So I'm thinking obviously about first responders, police officers, to really understand how that particular occupational population experience awe, but particularly what you describe as dark awe.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, David. Thank you. And I think I would say the short answer would be yes. I think that it could, but I think that there's a caveat to it in that it would really depend on what's the situation that you're trying to measure, right? So I don't know if you'd get a lot out of the situational awe scale, the SAS, if you measure first responders on like an everyday basis, like, hey, how was your day? I think, maybe after an incident that they maybe were involved in, maybe then you could get it to see if that kind of oppression kind of felt, if they felt confined, that dark awe picked up a little bit. But I think if it's, again, not a police officer, not a first responder, so I can't speak for that. But I think if it's just an everyday kind of thing, I don't think you would see that kind of difference that you would see compared to if it was being involved in a shooting, being involved in a robbery, something that's larger scale than what it may be. I think that that's what it could be. And to your work, it might just be interesting to see if somebody does have that kind of issue, does how they rate on some of that dark awe, that oppressive aspect of awe, does that lead to correlations in other things that may lead to depression, that may lead to thoughts of suicide, that could be better to catch that earlier on. So if someone is involved in a big shooting, you give them the scale, and maybe we find out that that is highly correlated with down the road needing extra help, then we can get that earlier on and make sure that they can get that help. And then not to keep talking, because I know there's other great questions that are going out there, but this may also be an interesting thing to think about of how can we better support police in terms of this kind of issues when things happen. Is there things like scales that we can give them that we can try to catch some of these things? So, does your amount of dispositional awe affect how you are resilient in the long run, or how you experience these different things? Do individuals who have high amounts of awe, do they not get bothered by these shootings as much, or is it the reverse? I think that those are interesting questions. And Susan, I know you were talking about dispositional awe a lot more than I was, so I'm not trying to take any time from you, but I think that that's an interesting thing that we can kind of look at as well.